Imagine stepping back in time, not to a grand palace or a bustling market square, but to a place where the air itself felt heavy, thick with the scent of wood smoke, damp earth, and something far less pleasant. Close your eyes and picture Manchester, not the vibrant modern city we know today, but Manchester in the year 1601. This is a city shrouded in a perpetual haze, a place where survival was a daily gritty victory against the elements and against conditions that would send shivers down our modern spines. The streets were narrow, choked with mud, and the refuse of human and animal life. Timber-framed houses, their upper stories leaning precariously over cobbled paths, pressed in on all sides, creating dark, sunless alleys. An unsettling silence often hung in the air, punctuated only by the creak of cartwheels, the distant bleating of sheep, or the occasional cry of a street vendor. There was no clean water, not as we understand it, and certainly no true cleanliness for its inhabitants. Every breath, every step, every meal was a testament to resilience in an early modern city that offered little comfort and demanded everything. If you find yourself captivated by these glimpses into a past where life was lived on the edge, where every convenience we take for granted was a distant dream, then we invite you to join us. Subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into how ordinary people truly lived, loved, and struggled through the ages, uncovering the forgotten realities behind the history books. In 1601, Manchester was not yet the sprawling metropolis that London had become, but it was a place humming with a different kind of energy. It was a small city, yes, but one rapidly expanding. A hub driven by the lucrative wool trade and its role as a vital regional market. This growth, however, was a double-edged sword. With more people came overcrowding, a haphazard sprawl of unplanned housing, and the creation of ever narrower, poorly ventilated streets. Every new dwelling, every new inhabitant, added to the burgeoning problem of waste. Sanitation was not a concept understood in its modern sense. Instead, the byproducts of life simply accumulated, creating not just an aesthetic blight, but a profound health hazard. Human and animal waste mingled freely with household refuse, discarded food scraps, and the general detritus of daily existence. These mounds of filth became breeding grounds for disease, silently undermining the very lives of those who called Manchester home. The very prosperity that drew people to this burgeoning town inadvertently laid the foundation for its most pervasive challenges. The air, already thick with the smoke from countless hearths, was further tainted by the stench of decay, a constant, unavoidable companion to daily life. It was a world where the line between living and merely existing was often blurred, where the simple act of drawing a breath carried unseen risks, and where the most basic needs, like clean water, were luxurious impossibilities. This was the raw, unfiltered reality of early 17th century Manchester, a testament to the sheer tenacity of the human spirit in the face of relentless adversity. The prosperity that drew people to this burgeoning town inadvertently laid the foundation for its most pervasive challenges. The air, already thick with the smoke from countless hearths, was further tainted by the stench of decay, a constant, unavoidable companion to daily life. It was a world where the line between living and merely existing was often blurred, where the simple act of drawing a breath carried unseen risks, and where the most basic needs, like clean water, were luxurious impossibilities. This was the raw, unfiltered reality of early 17th century Manchester, a testament to the sheer tenacity of the human spirit in the face of relentless adversity. Now imagine trying to quench your thirst in such a world. Water, the very essence of life, was not only scarce but tragically dirty and dangerous. There was no domestic plumbing, no safe indoor water sources that flowed with pristine, clean liquid. Instead, water was laboriously sourced from shallow public wells, from nearby streams that meandered through the town, or collected in wooden barrels during those frequent Manchester rains. The profound irony was that these very sources, essential for survival, were horrifyingly contaminated. Street dirt, the omnipresent animal feces from livestock and working animals, and the untreated domestic waste from households all found their way into the water supply. Wells were often dug too close to cesspits. Streams became open sewers. and rainwater collected from rooftops carried soot and grime. Drinking this water, a necessity for survival, posed a significant and constant health risk. It was the silent killer, the unseen enemy responsible for common intestinal diseases that ravaged populations, for sudden, unexplained fevers that swept through families, and for the seemingly inevitable deaths that marked every season. The connection between tainted water and rampant illness was largely unknown, leaving inhabitants vulnerable to forces they couldn't comprehend. Beyond drinking, the concept of personal cleanliness was drastically different, almost alien to our modern understanding. The absence of bathing, as we know it, was striking. Full immersive baths were an extreme rarity, often reserved for special occasions or the very wealthy, and even then, they were viewed with suspicion. A prevailing belief, ironically, was that hot water opened the pores, making one more susceptible to illness. More practically, the sheer lack of sufficient clean water made regular full-body bathing an impractical luxury for the vast majority. Hygiene practices were, by necessity, a patchwork of compromises. People would change their clothes when possible, though not daily. They might use damp cloths to wipe visible dirt from their faces and hands, a superficial gesture at best. To combat the pervasive body odors, strong herbs and perfumes were commonly employed, masking rather than eliminating the underlying issue. Cleanliness, therefore, became a matter of social appearance, a carefully constructed facade rather than a true physical reality. Beneath layers of heavy woolen clothing, dirt and grime often persisted for weeks, even months, accumulating unnoticed until garments were finally washed, a laborious and infrequent task. This environment, rich in human and animal detritus, became a magnet for pests. Waste attracted hordes of rats, their scurrying forms a common sight in the dimly lit alleys. Fleas and lice were unwelcome but constant companions, their bites causing endless itching and irritation. Flies buzzed incessantly, drawn to the omnipresent filth, landing on food and faces alike. The lack of knowledge about microbes meant that people had no understanding of the true cause of the illnesses that plagued them. Disease was attributed to fate, to divine punishment, or to mysterious miasmas in the air, rather than to the tangible filth that surrounded them. Local epidemics of plague, smallpox, and typhus would emerge without warning, sweeping through the crowded, unsanitary streets, leaving devastation in their wake, their true origins a terrifying enigma to those who lived through them. It was a world where unseen enemies lurked everywhere, making every breath a gamble, every meal a potential risk, and every day a testament to sheer, unyielding human endurance. Yet, the challenges didn't end with external filth and unseen pathogens. Inside the humble homes of Manchester, another pervasive threat lingered. The heavy air of survival itself. Fires were indispensable. They provided the warmth against the unforgiving English cold, cooked the meager meals, and offered the only source of light once dusk fell. But this necessity came at a steep cost. Inefficient chimneys, often little more than openings in the roof, struggled to draw out the smoke, filling homes with a constant, acrid haze. Soot accumulated relentlessly on walls, furniture, and most alarmingly, in the lungs of the inhabitants. Chronic coughs became an almost universal affliction, a persistent hacking that echoed through the narrow streets. Eyes burned from the perpetual irritation, and difficulty breathing was a common complaint, particularly among the elderly and the very young. Despite these health hazards, the fire remained an unyielding necessity. To extinguish it would be to invite a greater killer, the pervasive, bone-chilling cold that could claim lives far more swiftly than a lingering cough. What truly astonishes, when we cast our gaze back to 1601, is not merely the catalogue of hardships, but the tenacious spirit of life that persisted amidst such extreme conditions. Despite the constant struggle, the daily grind against filth, disease, and discomfort, life continued its inexorable rhythm. Weavers still sat at their looms, their hands deftly manipulating threads into cloth, their craft vital to the town's economy. Merchants still haggled in the marketplace, their voices cutting through the din of the bustling crowds, trading goods that sustained the community. Children with the boundless energy of youth still played in the muddy streets, their laughter, perhaps, a brief respite from the harsh reality surrounding them. The remarkable aspect of this era is not the misery itself, which was undeniable, but the sheer human adaptability. For the people of Manchester in 1601, this was not some historical horror story, a dark chapter to be studied and pitied. This was simply their reality. They knew no other way of life, and within its confines, they found purpose, community, and moments of joy. Manchester in 1601 stood as a city suspended between two worlds, a fascinating historical crossroads. It was still deeply rooted in the medieval past, with its agrarian rhythms, its localized economies, and its pre-scientific understanding of the world. Yet it was also subtly, almost imperceptibly, leaning towards the future. The seeds of the Industrial Revolution, though centuries away, were being sown in its burgeoning textile trade. Future centuries would bring a revolution in understanding, medical advances that would unravel the mysteries of disease, urban planning that would introduce sanitation systems, the marvel of piped water flowing directly into homes, and the scientific principles of hygiene that would transform daily life. In 1601, however, these solutions were not just non-existent, they were utterly unimaginable. The city existed in a state of profound ignorance regarding the true causes of its suffering, yet it was unknowingly on the cusp of an era that would fundamentally reshape human existence. As we reflect on Manchester in 1601, it becomes clear that our modern concepts of cleanliness, of readily available potable water, and of basic hygiene are not universal truths, but rather luxuries hard-won over centuries. In the damp, grimy streets of that early modern city, each day that passed without succumbing to severe illness was, in itself, a silent, unrecognized achievement. History is often told through the grand narratives of kings, queens, and epoch-defining battles, but it is equally, if not more profoundly, shaped by the countless ordinary people who simply woke up each day and found a way to survive seemingly impossible conditions. In the bustling, unsanitary, yet undeniably vibrant Manchester of 1601, merely surviving was truly enough. If you found this glimpse into the raw, unvarnished reality of early modern life as compelling as we did, then join us on our next journey. Subscribe now to explore more forgotten human stories, to uncover the daily triumphs and struggles across the vast expanse of centuries, and to understand the incredible resilience of the human spirit.